Hi, my name's Christina. This is Room Temp Kitchen, my baking channel where I'll show you recipes, guides, and techniques. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Today on Room Temp Kitchen, we will be going through how to make my sourdough brioche recipe. This sourdough brioche is fluffy, it's buttery, it's super flexible and kind of foolproof. Two things that you'll need are stand mixer and a loaf pan. This is a standard loaf pan. This is an 8.5 by 4 inch loaf pan. For the ingredients, you'll need butter at room temperature, eggs and milk cold from the fridge, all-purpose flour, granulated sugar, salt, and your already fed sourdough starter. Room temp alert! The two things you'll want at room temperature for this recipe is the butter and your sourdough starter. You'll want to take your butter out of the fridge at this point and measure it out. You'll want to slice it into 1-inch cubes, so this way by the time you're ready to incorporate the butter in step 8, it'll be at room temperature. Your sourdough starter, you should have fed it the night before, and this is the morning and it's ready to go. In this step, you're going to want to whisk your wet ingredients together, your milk, eggs, and sourdough starters. Whisk that in a separate bowl and you'll add it to the mixer later. I have really bad heartburn. Combine your dry ingredients. This is the flour, sugar, and salt. Using the dough hook attachment, just stir quickly to combine. Now you're going to want to set your mixer to low. Slowly pour the wet mixture into the dry mixer. Mix for 1 to 2 minutes until you get that wop. After mixing for 1 to 2 minutes, the dough should look pretty shaggy and loose. This is fine. You're going to want to rest the dough, so cover it with a clean dish towel and let it rest for about 8 to 10 minutes. After the dough has rested, mix on medium for about 5 minutes. This will strengthen the dough. So you could take a rubber spatula if too much dough has got up on the sides and just bang it down or slide it down or no. Now put your mixer on low. This is where you're going to add your butter 1 cube at a time. This is going to take forever. Like 20 minutes long. That's how long it took me. It's very important you do it this way so the butter is evenly incorporated. Put in 1 cube at a time and then look at the dough. It's gonna take about 30 seconds to a minute for the butter mostly incorporated. Check your dough to see if the butter is swirling around. If you could still see the cube and it's still the same size, you still have a little bit longer to go. If it's decreased significantly in size, you can put the next cube in and then do that until all the butter is fully incorporated. After an eternity, the butter should be fully incorporated. The dough should wrap around the hook and come clean off the sides. Now is the time for the first long proof. You're going to want to proof your dough at room temperature for about 2 hours. During the 2 hours, you're going to want to stretch and fold 3 times after the first 30 minutes. So if you think of the dough like a compass, you have the north, south, west, and east. So after the first 30 minutes have passed, you uncover the dough and then you take the north side, stretch it over to the south side. You then take the east side, stretch it over to the west side. You then take the south side, stretch it back over to the north side, and then you take the west side and stretch it over to the east side. And then you remind yourself that the west coast is not the best coast and that you moved to the wrong city. After you've stretched and fold, you're gonna want After you've stretched and fold, you're gonna want to repeat this step 2 more times. After the last stretch and fold, you're gonna cover the bowl and let it rest for the remaining 30 minutes at room temperature. Now is the time for the cold proof in the fridge. This is flexible, but you want to have it at least proof in the fridge for 3 hours. The dough needs to be cold. However, you can have it proof for overnight, or you can even push it even longer than that. I wouldn't push it more than 24 hours, only because it is sourdough brioche. This is gonna affect the flavor. After the cold proof in the fridge, you're gonna want to turn the dough out onto a lightly floured surface. You need to make sure the dough is cold though. That's why I recommend doing it for at least 3 hours. It's easier to handle and to shape at that point. Shape the dough into 8 equal balls. If you're particular like I am and you want the brioche to be fully even, weigh it before. They should come out to be about 78 grams per ball, which is larger than most balls. When I'm shaping the brioche, I shape it like a tiny little loaf. I don't know if this is right. This is just how I do it. Please do not come at me for this. Do not cancel me over this. There's other things to cancel me for. So what I'll do is I'll slightly flatten the brioche and then I'll slightly tuck it in. So what I'll do is if we go back to the compass example, I'll take the north side of this little dough, I'll bring it over 3/4 of the way into the circle. Then I'll take both of the sides and then bring them together and then take the bottom half and then roll it together. Then I flip the dough over on the surface and I bring it towards me. This is to create tension in the dough. And then I shape it into a ball by taking the sides of 2 of my hands and rolling it between. So you roll the balls in between your hands. You want to massage the balls. Roll, the balls. Onlyfans.com/roomtempkitchen. I'm sorry, I either have to throw up or burp. Now that your balls are shaped, you're gonna take your loaf pan and just gently grease it. Then you're gonna wanna cut your parchment paper into a sling-like shape, so it hangs off the sides of your loaf pan. This is so when the loaf is done, you can easily just pull it out of the pan. Once that's done, you're gonna wanna butter it again. I am a little bit crazy about this, and I wanna make sure my dough doesn't get stuck, so I double butter. Once your parchment paper is in and buttered, you're gonna place your little dough balls into the pan. You just wanna tuck them in gently. You should have 2 rows of 4 doughs just sleeping next to each other. Now's the time for your last and final proof. You're gonna cover the little dough balls as they sleep, and you're just gonna tuck them in and leave them at room temperature. You're gonna wanna let them rest from 2 to 4 hours. This is dependent on how cold or hot it is in your room. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Whisk 1 egg for your egg wash. Once the dough is fully puffed up, you're gonna wanna brush your egg wash over the dough. This will give it a beautiful golden brown color. For more egg wash on balls, go to onlyfans.com/roomtempkitchen. You're gonna wanna bake for about 20 to 25 minutes. The loaf should be high and golden. Internal temperature should be about 190 degrees Fahrenheit. Once the loaf is done, place it on a cooling rack and let it sit for 10 minutes. Then pull the loaf up by its sides with a parchment paper. If the loaf is still having a little bit of issues coming out, just take a butter knife and just kind of carve on the outside and let it a little bit loose from the loaf pan. This loaf is wonderful right out of the oven. It's warm, it's buttery, it's soft, it's pillowy. It's everything that you want. This loaf is also great 1 day old as French toast. This loaf also works well if you just freeze it. Just slice it and then put it in your freezer, and it's good for up to 6 months. You can either take it out the night before you want to use it, or you can just heat it up in the oven. This. If you like this recipe, let me know. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments. For the full recipe, go to roomtempkitchen.com. You can also find me on Instagram @roomtempkitchen. Thanks for watching. Bye.